Good morning and happy Friday. Uh, this was an interesting feat of PHP, I guess, and digging into the innards of GeneratePress. But I came up with a handy function, I think, something that I use a lot, and I got tired of having to style manually. Um, but I didn't know quite what to call this. We all know what it is. We've all used it, I think. Um, but I don't know what the name is. But it's styling headings to be like something else, or well, like another heading. So, like for example, we've all had to do this where you've had like maybe a series of cards, I guess, say maybe team members. When you go to the team page and you want to keep your headings consistent and not use uh, a number of sizes that you don't have. You want to keep it to a minimum, and you've already styled heading level 1, heading level 2, heading level 3, so on and so forth. And so maybe even though each bio card needs to be a heading 2, you want it to be styled like a heading 3. So you go create those styles. Well, I did a little digging on the back end. I just had a thought, so I did some digging on the back end of GeneratePress, and it turns out you can have it do this for you. So that's what this is. And it is a good bit of PHP, but I'm going to walk through it sort of briefly, but I'm going to give you links to the code where you can snag it and give it a try for yourself. So what I mean is, for those of you familiar with Bootstrap, this is something Bootstrap implemented a long time ago. So they have default heading styles, heading 1, heading 2, but they also have classes for each size that mimics or mirrors the element style. So you have the styling for an H1 element, and then you have a class called H1 to style paragraphs in that way, or to override the styling of another heading. So that's what I wanted, and that's what I got, by golly. And so here's my demo page. We have a heading level 2, and here's a heading level 2 also, but it's styled like a heading level 3. Here is an heading, here is a heading level 3, but it's styled like a heading level 1. And it even gives us these nifty block stylers for the native WordPress heading blocks. So you can style it any way you wish with just a click. And you can also, if it's like, let's convert this to a GenerateBlocks heading level 2. So now you don't get the clickers, the buttons, I guess, those custom block styles, but you can go in and say, is style like H4 or H3 or H1? And, it occurred to me that I can make, well, that in my dream world, I could create a custom class, a global style, automatically, programmatically with PHP in GenerateBlocks, but I couldn't figure out how to do it, to be honest. And also, it dawned on me that might not be the best way to handle that, because then you could edit the class or the style in the editor, and then when you went back to the customizer, which I'm about to show you, um, it would then overwrite. It got too complicated. So I figured this was the best way. So if you're going to apply it to your GenerateBlocks headings, it would be best just to do it like this. And the reason it's called is style is that is the WordPress kind of native way to apply styling to different elements. If you were to look at, I think I'm telling you right, is layout flow. Yeah, I'm following a natural convention, and I'm sorry, not natural, a native convention to WordPress. And it also has to do with, if we switch back to a regular heading, whoa, yeah, it has to do with these. So like these custom block styles, it's these are always going to be prefixed with is style. So I'm following that convention is all I'm trying to say. Sorry, wasted about 30 seconds there. So let's take a look at, save this, exactly what is going on. So if we jump out here, and by the way, this is just vanilla GeneratePress, not GP Premium, not GenerateBlocks Pro. There is GenerateBlocks is installed in here, but this is all the free stuff. So all this stuff was built in to the GeneratePress theme, and I'll show you that too. But if I go to the customizer, where I can set up my headings, oh, it's going to give me a goofed up homepage. Yeah, so let's go to typography, and here's my heading 1. Let's say my heading 4. I don't know if I have one on here, but let's say I want to make it uppercase, and I want to. I don't have an H4. Oh well. Let's say I want to space out I want to spread out the letters a little bit with a little letter spacing. All caps to me feels a little better, reads a little better, especially in smaller sizes. So let's publish that. And if I go over here, well, now let's go back and apply an H4, and I'll show you what's happening. So these styles are getting applied. They're being inserted into the page in line. So it's not generating an external style sheet. I kind of want to have a go at that, but right now it's just injecting the CSS into the page. And some of the performance nerds, and I'm one of them, maybe thinking, well, really ought to be external, or you really ought to be adding it to another style sheet. I think it's so minute, like it's so small, like it's not really going to have barely an effect, if any effect. But now if I go here and I say my H4 style, there you go. So you can see now that it's styled like an H3. It really could use a little more margin on the bottom, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And this is, let's switch that, style like an H4. So save that. Jump back over here. There you go. And that is the element right there. So you can see that it is an H2 element, but is styled like H4. This is being applied. And it's being created automatically by GeneratePress. Well, by functions I'm borrowing from GeneratePress. So if I were to look at the source, and we are wrapping the line, let me see here. Here it is right here. This is what's getting injected. GPC utility inline CSS is style like H1, blah, blah. And it's even, oh, I don't have any. Okay, well, just to show you how far it goes, let's add some responsive styling, or some, change it up a little for maybe the H2. Oh, let's change the H1. That's, yeah. So maybe now it just goes to 3 rem. We'll keep it simple. Okay, it didn't change yet, but when I publish it, it still didn't change. Okay, let's see what it does over here. And here's where I get myself into trouble. I do things that I didn't test out, just thinking it's going to work. Whoa. Okay, so there it goes. And so if we come back over here and refresh the source code, there it is. It even generates the responsive part. So it'll build in a media query. Now, that is freaking nice. Okay, and this is not my magic. This is the GeneratePress team. So we're kind of piggybacking on the functions that they've built that generate the CSS code, and it's pretty darn easy. What should I show you next? Let's see. Let's go to the. I'm trying to decide if there's anything else I need to show you here. I don't think so. Let's take a peek at the code. Okay. So this is my child theme, and the way I've set it up is I have an ink folder in my child theme, and then I have some stuff in my functions.php, which every theme has a functions.php, which at the bottom I have it set up so I can comment out things I don't need, or pull them in when I do. So the first thing I have is a set of helper functions, and I've included both of these files in a gist, and you can drop them in either with a snippets plugin, a code snippets plugin, or if you have your own child theme, pull it in however you like. If you're playing with a child theme, you probably have a little bit of knowledge of how PHP works. So I built this. I'm trying to learn more about classes in PHP and how they work. So we have this nifty little theme utility that I can check things with. Like I can say, is a particular theme active, or is a particular theme my parent theme, or can I check, is this theme the active theme or the parent theme? And this is the one I'm using in. Okay, so there's the helper functions. I also have this. So I have this extra styles.php, and that's where I put the magic sauce. So I did a lot of digging, a lot of tinkering with this, and it is fairly, okay, it's kind of complex, but if I can do this, you can do this. I'm self-taught. I've been doing this a long time, but it's not insurmountable. But you can, like I said, I'm going to include the gist so that you can just grab this and copy and paste it, and it should work. No guarantees. But as always, I'll do my best to try to help anyone get this running. So this is a typical theme function, just to say, if you try to access this file directly, just peter out, quit, don't do anything. But we've built this little function to build this inline CSS. So first thing it's going to do, we're going to call this function later, but this is the function that does all the magic stuff, and uses GeneratePress heavily to do the magic stuff. So first thing I'm doing, I'm checking to see, is GeneratePress the active theme or parent? And this means false. So what this is going to do is, because GeneratePress is active, it's going to return true because it is the parent theme. But I'm doing the negative. If this whole thing equals false or returns false, then just return, just quit. We're not going to do anything else because we don't have the stuff we need to do it. But if GeneratePress is active, or the parent theme, then let's keep going. So first thing we're going to do is go get the generate settings option, the typography part in particular, the font stuff, and get those values. Then we're going to create our own array with the font settings in it, and we're going to loop through it. After this is the magic stuff right here. So this GeneratePress, this is a class. This is a PHP's class, GeneratePress _CSS. So we're going to initiate or instantiate, or I don't know the freaking word. We're going to say, hey, give me a new instance of this, and we're going to do our own thing. So this GPC CSS variable is going to hold all of that information so we can work the magic. We're building an array of elements. So we want to copy each of these elements. We want to copy an H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. That's all we want to do right now. We could do more with this. There's a lot of potential here, but that's all we're going to do right now. And this is going to be an empty array. It's going to hold all of the style names that we've built, because down here below, this is where we build out those custom block styles that you saw, those buttons we could click to apply the style to a native WordPress heading or paragraph. Just so you know, here's that bit. So we can style a paragraph to look like a heading. Heck yeah, baby. So we're going to loop through this typography array. We're going to loop through all the settings. And so typography array as typography. So as we loop through this, we're going to reference each item that we loop through as typography. So now we have an element. We're going to create a new value that equals whatever selector we're on. Got it? Follow me? Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to push this value into element. Wait a minute. Just a sec. Let me make sure I'm telling you right. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So what we're doing is we're going through and looping through all the typography elements in the settings that we grabbed. This copy elements means we're using this little bit right here. If the element that we're looping through is in this array of elements that we would like to copy, then do our stuff. Okay, so this is telling it that we only want to do this for these particular elements. So we're going to push in the element. We're going to add it to our empty array here. We're going to do something with this later, and I'll show you. But here's where the stuff really starts happening. So we're responsible for this, but we're going to use this class that is built into the GeneratePress theme to first create a selector. Is style like an element? You know, first thing it's going to fill in is H1. So we're going to build this class, is style like H1. And then we're going to give it properties. So you have the set selector here, and then we can add the properties for that selector. And so we go through, and it's pretty much the same as a CSS selector name. So, but it's camel case. So instead of font family that we'd use in CSS, we get rid of the hyphen and we capitalize. The first word is not capitalized, but then the following words that would come after a hyphen get capitalized with no hyphen. So anyway, you get the idea. So font family, font size, font style. And just so you know, when you're setting your styles in the customizer, the more specific, the more styles or more properties you can set, the better. Because there are things like the letter spacing I added to the H4, for example. If you were to style that H4 like an H5, let's say, and that H5 had no letter spacing property set, the letter spacing from the H4 would still come through. So you probably, you just want to make sure that you cover all of the properties that need to reset the element property that it's being applied to. That sounds confusing, but maybe I can show you an example. But anyway, so this is setting that property, setting that selector, setting the properties. Then we're handling the media queries for tablet and mobile, and pretty much just doing the same thing. But it's going to build the queries for us and the styling. Here you can see start media query, end media query, or stop media query. And it looks like the selector will automatically reset or close once a new selector is created. So I didn't have to worry about closing that part or whatever. So that's all the hard stuff. So when that for each loop finishes, we're going to return an array because we need two values. First, we need the CSS that we want output, and then we need the block elements that we affected. And those block elements are going to come into play. Check for utility. I can't even find them. Oh, no. I said, okay, never mind. Okay, so let me back up. You'll notice that the new styling took effect when I saved my settings in the customizer. That's what this does. So we added an action that triggers a function whenever the customizer options are saved. And this is the function it calls. And we're saying, again, we're calling this utility, this class, this PHP class, to say, okay, if the active theme or parent theme is GeneratePress, or rather, if it's not, then return, just shut things down. But if it is installed, then we're going to continue going. So we're going to use this variable and then call this function. That's what this is, that does all this stuff. And it's going to return these two items in an array to this variable. So now we're going to use the update option. This is a native WordPress function that will inject or insert these values into the WP options table of the database. So if I jump back over here and go to the database, you'll see them right here. Here's the utility CSS, and you can see what it kind of looks like. And here's the utility elements. And what it does, it builds, as I think this is called a serialized array. So it's kind of a database's own way of storing an array of values. But when we get it returned, we're going to be able to read it, or our PHP is going to be able to read it. So we're going to update these two options. And the way update option works is if the value is not there, it's going to create it. If it's already there, it's going to update it. So be warned, this is going to insert data into your database so it can be retrieved later. So there we go. So then we have this utility that will loop through our utility elements, which I'm calling it that because I may add stuff to it later. And I might ought to call this utility CSS elements. I don't know. Naming stuff is hard. So again, we're checking for GeneratePress. We're checking for all these functions, and we're checking to make sure that so we're checking for the existence of a particular function, register block style. We're checking for, that is the native function for adding our block styles. We're checking for this get option is how you fetch that value from the database. We're checking to see that that's there, the utility CSS and utility elements, because we need both. One to create the style, and one to the other holds the CSS values to make the style look like something. So we're going to loop through each one of these elements. We're getting the utility elements option, this. So we're going to go through and fetch H1, H2, and every one that has a style created for it. And we're going to build two block styles. We're going to do one for the core heading and one for the core paragraph. And it's going to call, like I said, it's going to prefix it. So even though you just see like H1, it's going to loop through each one of these elements as element. So when it hits H1, element is going to equal H1. So this will end up being is like, no, sorry, style like, what did I say? Is style like, sorry. Is style like, H1. Okay, that's what it's going to equal the first time through. And this one will equal the same thing. And this is going to equal H1 style. So I'm telling it to switch to uppercase so that it just looks better. So that may have been, too much information, but there you have it. So anyway, this is the bit that creates those custom block styles that we can click as buttons. Then we have our last little function, and this is going to on-queue the styles. And again, we're doing all these same checks. Is GeneratePress around? Is it active or the parent theme? We're going to go try and fetch this option, and then we're going to see if the option is there because we've assigned it to this variable. So if it is not there, then just return, do nothing. Otherwise, keep going. So we're going to register GPC utility. False means there's no external style associated with it. So don't try to go fetch something. I think that's what that means. Then we're going to on-queue the style by referencing its name, which we established up here in register style. And then we can finally add the inline style. We can call the function that writes it into the page, and we tell it what to write into the page, because this GPC CSS holds our get option from the database, which holds all of our CSS. That's it. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to try to keep this short. Study this, look through it. I'm going to give you the links to the gists that, here they are. These are the theme functions and theme utilities. And here's the heading styles. Yep. And technically, just to let you know, if you don't want to create two separate styles, you can take this whole class and include it here, and then include this whole thing in a snippet. If you're using a snippet, a code snippet plugin for your theme. Since I get to do my own child theme, I like to keep it all separate, and I don't know, it's just the way I do housekeeping. It's all personal preference, and I try to comment everything to keep it all so I can remind myself what it is. So yeah, I think that's all I want to share. I think that's it. So this was a big, helpful revelation for me, because I like to set up these styles so I can have control over. Sometimes you want an H2 to look like an H3, because an H2 is just too big for a card or a listing of some kind, but you still need to maintain the right hierarchy for accessibility, for SEO, for just the way you're supposed to do it. And this does it for you automatically. And again, GeneratePress rocks. It was so cool that I could dig in and figure this out. Great way to learn too, by the way, is to dig into a theme or plugin, locally on your computer, or, a private hosting area where you can tinker with it and not mess things up. But I hope that helps. One other thing I did want to describe. I mentioned something about the spacing, or having the let's see. So heading 1, I applied spacing, but if I were to apply, okay, heading 2 also has some negative letter spacing. There's bigger sizes I like it to be tight. Okay, so an H3. Okay, let's look at that. I'm going to just real quick so I can show you what I'm talking about. Making sure these styles have enough properties to override any other styles or other properties. Okay, so this is an H2, which an H2 has some negative letter spacing, because again, I like my bigger type. Okay, now I like my bigger type to be a little tighter. I think it just looks nicer. Okay, that's a heavy level 2. Wait, I'm making this way too hard. Default. So there's our default heading level 2. This is also an H2, but style like an H3. Okay. So a heading level 2 has a little negative letter spacing applied to it, but the heading level 3, I didn't apply any spacing. So it's actually still going to inherit that negative letter spacing. So let's take a look real quick. And this is really nitpicky, but again, I just want to show you as an example. So see, you can barely see it, but it's inheriting that letter spacing from an H2. So it's not truly styled like an H3. So what I can do is go in here and make sure that an H3 has 0 applied to it. And now when I look at it, It is an H2, styled like an H3, and we've applied 0 to the letter spacing. 0M. I guess I can. Whatever. That's fine. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. I'll leave it there. So, you guys know what I'm talking about. I hope what I've named this for the video is appropriate. I don't even know what I'm going to name it yet. I've worked on the card. Anyway, man, I hope you guys find this helpful. It's been a great tool for me. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you like it. Please like, subscribe, give me some feedback. What you guys would like to see, what you're struggling with, what you'd like to build. Building is fun. Making all this stuff happen is so great. And the tools that we're given are just they make life easier. I mean, I've been using GeneratePress since 2016, maybe, so 9 years. Holy smokes, almost 9 years. And man, that and GenerateBlocks has just been killer. And the stuff that you can tap into, even from the code side, man, it's great. It's great. I can't praise it enough. So enjoy this. Have a great weekend. See you guys next week, and take care.